Welcome to our meeting. The date is September 23, 2025. The time is 6 p.m. This is an open meeting of the Grand Island City Council. The City of Grand Island abides by the Open Meetings Act in conducting business. A copy of the Open Meetings Act is displayed in the back of this room as required by state law. Please rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The clerk will now perform roll call.
Council President Sheard.
Present.
Councilmember Stelk.
Present.
Councilmember Conley.
Present.
Councilmember Nickerson.
Present.
Councilmember Brown.
Present.
Councilmember Hawsey.
Present.
Councilmember Mendoza.
Present.
Councilmember O'Neill.
Present.
Councilmember Pollack.
Present.
Councilmember Lanfear will be absent, and Mayor Steele.
Present. Also present are Jill Grenier, the city clerk, Patrick Brown, the assistant city administrator and chief financial officer, Carrie Fisk, the city attorney, and Keith Kurtz, the public works director. A sign-up sheet was available in the lobby for individuals wishing to provide input on any of tonight's agenda items. If you did not sign up to speak on an agenda item, please come forward, state your name and the agenda topic on which you will be speaking. No one has come forward, so we shall continue. Agenda item 5A, presentation from Grow Grand Island and Victus Advisors, LLC, on Good Life District Updated Economic Impact Study. Mr. Brown?
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Council. So tonight we have Tanya Brown with the Grow Grand Island here to go through the study that they had Victus Advisors do for the Good Life District.
Thank you, Mr. Brown.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Thank you for having me. Let me just start with, in the packet, the agenda memo that you had. First of all, it was a really great depiction of kind of where we have been with this whole Good Life District process. So when it talks about December 2023, Woodsonia Real Estate presented the City Council with an economic impact study on the feasibility of an indoor and outdoor sports complex. It also talks about then Woodsonia, with the support of the City of Grand Island, then applied for the creation of the Good Life District. It was approved by the state of Nebraska in June of 2024. Since that date, the City of Grand Island took steps to obtain voter approval of a Good Life District Economic Development Program. Grow Grand Island certainly engaged at that time as an advocate of the vote, and that was missing from here, so I just wanted to add that in the mix. Certainly, we're sitting here today in September of 2025, and that's kind of where we're going to pick the ball up, is where we are today. I'm going to tell you that our original plan was to have Walter Franco with Victus Advisors to be able to address you remotely tonight and be able to cover some content in much more detail than I'm going to be able to, but I am pinch hitting. We found out on Monday that that's a violation of the Open Meetings Act, and so remote presentations are just not possible. And we wanted to go ahead and present some information tonight, so I'm going to pinch hit. I will also tell you that the information I'm sharing tonight is very fresh, so it's only been in Grow Grand Island's possession for a very short period of time. And I also will tell you I'm going to do a high-level overview of the information. I am not going to dig into a lot of the data and the numbers, and especially probably what you might be most interested in is the pro forma and the financial data. I will not be able to do that tonight. The final report is expected very, very soon, and once we have a final report in its entirety, we will be able to share that level of detail. So tonight is going to be a high-level overview. That also means that when it comes to your questions about the study, it is very likely that I'm not going to be able to answer them, but Walter Franco is watching with us right now. He will be listening to what I say. He will be listening to what you say. He will be making note of any questions that you have, and we will address those questions, but it'll be done in writing later. So I just wanted to set the expectation because that shifted on us. And we're gonna walk through and do the best we can to get you some good information from that study tonight. So, before I dive into some of Victus' slides, I do want to give just a little bit more background, and this is going to go to when Grow Grand Island presented in July, and Mitch, you were asking some questions about the study. And I just wanted to hit on a few of those points before we dove into some information. So Grow Grand Island did engage with Victus in July. They began their work in the latter part of July, so it was a pretty rapid process to basically lay out what we wanted done, go into the contract process, and to begin the study. So they were able to begin at the tail end of July. We had asked them to review the Good Life District components and supporting materials, so that would be materials that you're all very familiar with as well. Wanted them to understand the project scope. Then we also, most importantly, wanted them to provide some validation of the market analysis. There were prior studies done. Those were done in 2023. And we wanted some validation of that information. A lot has changed over the course of a couple of years. And so having them validate that was good. And then finally, the pro forma and financial analysis and economic and fiscal modeling. All of that is going to be available in that final report. So you will get to see that hopefully very soon. I do also want to say that all stakeholders shared materials, studies, reports. They did that cooperatively. They did that timely. And that allowed Victus to move forward. So in that feasibility and validation analysis, there were 3 reports that were looked at. 2 of them you're probably very familiar with or have heard of before, and that would be Canyon Research Southwest. That was the retail sales impact analysis of 2023. I believe that would have been part of the application process for the Good Life District. The other one was the sports facilities companies. That was a financial feasibility study. That one was very geared towards the activity and the revenue projections. And then there's a new report or new study that got put into the mix that's actually dated 2025. This was a study that Woodsonia facilitated, and they used Pinnacle Indoor Sports to conduct that study. It is a multi-purpose sports complex, market feasibility, and validation report. So while we were looking to validate studies, they were looking to validate studies as well. At the time we entered into our agreement, we were not aware of that particular study, but once we were made aware of it, it was willingly shared to Victus so that they could look that over as well. When you hear the word Pinnacle, that probably causes a little bit of confusion in your mind, so I wanted to just let you know that Pinnacle Indoor Sports, they are an industry leader in the development of sports arenas, athletic facilities, recreational centers. They're in the United States and Canada, so they have several offices. Pinnacle Indoor Sports, Norm Gill, if you've heard that name before, he was a consultant for Woodsonia. He was also a consultant for the Pinnacle Bank Sports Complex project that was planned down by Bosselman's. So definitely a lot of expertise has been looking this project over in depth. So maybe we can jump into some key takeaways. What Victus had done, obviously, in order to get out of the gate on this, well, they had to look at our local market data. Who is our community? What's it made up of? And with all of that data, they were able to then kind of point out some key takeaways and a conclusion, and that's what this slide is all about. Market demand, there is a strong interest in a new Grand Island facility, especially for youth basketball and volleyball. Tourism and economic impact, attracting the out-of-town visitors will be critical. Success is dependent on well-run tournaments, adequate lodging, quality concessions. Facilities that draw regional and national teams could generate significant economic impact through hotel stays and local spending. Adequate parking, proper court layouts, sufficient space between courts are key requirements. Strong local partnerships or public ownership are preferred to support sustainability and operational efficiency. So the conclusion that Victus is providing here, this is the wrong slide. No wonder it wasn't making any sense. No, it's okay. Okay. Sorry, this is all new content to me as well. Interviewees expressed strong but varied interest in a new indoor sports facility in Grand Island, highlighting the potential for youth and tournament programming while emphasizing high-quality courts, ample parking, efficient operations, and strong local partnerships. Some organizations indicated only possible use due to location or market limitations. This slide here actually speaks to what was in the Pinnacle Indoor Sports Study of 2025. They interviewed 13 potential user groups, and those interviewees from basketball, volleyball, wrestling, table tennis, they were all interested in hosting events at the new sports facility. Victus commentary, Victus agrees with feedback suggesting the need for additional indoor court space. Victus also affirms that there is interest from various event organizers to host tournaments as an indoor sports center for Grand Island. That said, the proposed facility could still face significant competition from Kearney and other facilities in Lincoln and beyond. Ultimately, a successful facility in Grand Island would need to establish long-term relationships with event organizers and cater to a wide variety of sports to maximize programming. I'm going to go backwards. Yeah, this is not at the beginning. I thought something's not right here. It is not right. So I apologize. Wherever that thing started, it was like 3 slides in. So I don't know what happened there, but we're going to continue on. Okay, market profile, because this is what's really interesting. So forget what you just saw. I'll get to that again in a minute. Start here, market profile. The City of Grand Island and the MSA stand out with younger median age. The average spending power for entertainment and recreation is less than the national average, however. They talk about our population for our community as well as our MSA, but let's look at the conclusion. Based on the demographic and market characteristics of the City of Grand Island and the MSA, a potential indoor sports center would draw from a relatively young population base with modest discretionary spending power. While long-term and projected population growth rates are below national trends, the current drive time market is substantial. The concentration of nearby residents suggests that weekday usage of a new sports and recreation facility would likely be supported by strong local demand, particularly for accessible programs, leagues, and community-based recreation that align with the area's spending capacity. This came out in the Pinnacle Indoor Sports Study. Similar statistics, obviously, regarding the Grand Island market, but the Hispanic Latino population, the study noted that Grand Island had a higher population base percentage-wise than the United States. I think we all knew that. And it was suggested that adult Hispanics tend to be frequent users of indoor sports facilities. Victus does agree that the large Hispanic Latino population in Grand Island presents an opportunity for diverse programming at the proposed facility to maximize usage and revenue. A key part to the Victus study were stakeholder interviews. And Grow Grand Island did help them identify and connect them with those stakeholders. So they did 13 stakeholder interviews. Though they were chief industries, City of Grand Island Community Development, City of Grand Island Parks Division, City of Grand Island Public Works, City of Grand Island Utilities, City of Grand Island, which would be the administration. Confluence was interviewed, Grand Island Area Economic Development Corporation, Grand Island Tourism, Innate Concepts, Pinnacle Bank, Starostica Group, and Venue Works. So they took our local market information, obviously, and then now they interviewed a numerous amount of stakeholders. So stakeholder feedback, these are key takeaways and a conclusion. There's a strong interest in a new indoor sports facility, but stakeholders emphasize the need to differentiate it from nearby venues to avoid market saturation. The facility must attract out-of-town visitors. Success will depend on event programming, quality lodging, and strong marketing. Major infrastructure costs and limited contractor capacity present challenges. Stakeholders question the pace and scale of the planned housing in the Good Life District. Governance and partnerships. Public ownership or strong partnerships are preferred for long-term success. Collaboration and phase planning will be critical in moving forward. So stakeholders express cautious interest in a new indoor sports facility in Grand Island. Many see potential for the project, but raise concerns about infrastructure challenges, competition from nearby facilities, and the need for strong tourism and lodging options to support success. So that's okay. That's the stakeholder interviews. So in addition to stakeholders, they also spoke with 8 user groups. These would be potential organizations that would book. They spoke with 8 of them. You may or may not know any of these names, but I'll give you some of them. AEF Academy, Elkhorn Athletic Association, Envy Volleyball Club, Hoffman's Hoop Academy, Nebraska Elite Volleyball, Nebraska Volleyball Academy, Supreme Basketball, and the Volleyball Academy. They did reach out to about 30 local and regional sports groups via telephone and email. And here are some of that feedback. Market demand. There's a strong interest for youth basketball, volleyball. Emphasize the need for high-quality courts, seating, and amenities to stand out from the nearby venues. Demand varies by organization. Attracting out-of-town visitors critical, adequate parking. These are takeaways from the Pinnacle Indoor Sports report. This provided interview information on 13 potential user groups. So Victus were able to reach out to 8 of them, and then Pinnacle added a pool of 13 to it. I believe there is some crossover, but not a lot, so it really increased the pool of interviewees. Tournament demand, the interviewees from basketball, volleyball, wrestling, and table tennis were interested in hosting events at the facility. Outdoor sports interviewees also expressed interest in hosting events at the expanded Veterans Sports Complex. Victus agrees with the feedback, suggesting the need for additional indoor court space. Victus also affirms that there's interest from various event organizations to host tournaments. That said, the proposed facility could still face significant competition, and the Kearney Sportsplex and other facilities in Lincoln and beyond to host tournaments from the same groups. Ultimately, this is key, ultimately a successful facility in Grand Island would need to establish a long-term relationship with event organizers and cater to a wide variety of sports to maximize the programming. So now I'll shift over to some information regarding tourism trends. This is just a little map, and it's showing MSAs. The first grouping, 1 and 2, those are MSAs within a 2 to 3 hour drive of Grand Island. The rest of the list is MSAs within a 5 to 6 hour drive of Grand Island. So each of those locations, it's giving its potential population, the population providing a potential audience for the sports complex. One interesting early observation that we had when we saw this map was that most of the population centers illustrated here would have to drive through Grand Island to get to Kearney. So just an interesting side note to point out as you're looking at this particular map. Give you a second to digest all those numbers. So sports tourism venue trends, quality and quantity of courts or fields, very important. Victus has found that tournament organizers stress a preference for a modern venue with at least 8 basketball, volleyball courts, 8 multi-use fields, or 8 ball diamonds to host larger events. So these events tend to attract dozens or more teams, which can equate to hundreds of room nights per event and thus spar a larger economic impact. Another essential trend here, location to nearby hospitality amenities. Got to have things nearby, access to them, especially hotels, restaurants, retail. Technology, modern sports facilities feature technology to be used by the event organizers, participants, and families. And then flexible programming opportunities, cheer, dance competitions, pickleball, esports, other emerging sports, they need larger indoor space for events. Flexibility to modify those floor types, subdivide, help to fill the year-round activity for a sports venue. So these are just some local takeaways based on what we already have. So of the profiled venues that they looked at, this would be like your Field House and Pinnacle Expo Center, Heartland Event Center. None of the profiled venues function as a dedicated indoor sports complex. The Field House is the only facility with courts, while the Heartland Event Center and the Pinnacle Bank Expo Center primarily serve as an event or multi-purpose spaces. Ownership and operation, all facilities are publicly owned with operations split between the city of Grand Island and third-party managers. This highlights a lack of private investment or management dedicated solely to indoor sports programming. Obviously, who's contracted with handles their primary piece, but this is specifically pointing to indoor sports programming. So key observations: a limited number of courts and the absence of a purpose-built sports complex restricts Grand Island's ability to host larger regional tournaments or accommodate sustained multi-court programming. So existing venues are primarily designed for community use and special events rather than attracting that out-of-town tourism. Grand Island, in the conclusion here, Grand Island currently lacks a dedicated sports complex with existing facilities offering limited court capacity. The gap represents a significant opportunity for a purpose-built sports venue that can consolidate program, host larger tournaments, and attract regional users who currently travel elsewhere. They did also break things down a little bit by some comparables with 2.5 hours away, so 2.5 hours away, and then if you remember that map, that graphic I showed, and also 5 hours away. So they looked at those facilities. All profiled facilities have at least 6 basketball courts, convertible to volleyball courts. All are privately owned, and only one is privately operated. Here's the rental rates for those that are 2.5 hours away. You can see that. The conclusion: comparable facilities show that indoor sports centers with at least 6 convertible courts can successfully host a variety of tournaments and programs. Grand Island venue would face competition from existing regional facilities within that drive, but its mix of court inventory and flexible rental rates could position it to attract both local users and regional events throughout the year. And then we'll look at the 5-hour comparable. All of the indoor court facilities profiled have at least 4 basketball courts and 8 volleyball courts. 3 out of the 6 centers profiled are publicly operated. Here's their rental rates and what they range from. The programming mainly consists of recreational adult youth leagues, drop-in hours, camps, clinics, and tournaments. So while Grand Island would compete with these markets too, its court space, flexibility, and pricing could still help it attract events from both inside and outside the state of Nebraska. Victus did provide just a little commentary on the outdoor sports complex. We did have them focusing largely on the indoor complex, but they do have a commentary here. While an outdoor sports complex, which is the diamond and rectangular fields, can be a sports tourism driver, it would not be maximized year-round like an indoor would. I think that's all self-explanatory. And this is their facility opportunity assessment. Victus does validate the SFC and Pinnacle findings. There is demand for an indoor sports center with multiple basketball courts, convertible to volleyball courts. Victus identified demand for at least 4 and potentially up to 8 basketball courts, which should be convertible. These column-free hardwood surfaces could also be used by wrestling, cheer, not sure what futsal is, but and pickleball. So I didn't have this slide was not in the deck, but it's very interesting. I wanted to share it with you. Sports tourism site selection factors. The number one factor for a site selector is venue characteristics and quality and cost. So if you're looking at your competitive edge, that's it. And it's number one by a large margin. Also, destination accessibility, how easy is it to get to, offerings and amenities. Hotel rates also play a role, as do your other destination demographics. So I just wanted to do a quick recap. First of all, kind of final takeaways. There is regional indoor tournament demand. I personally can't speak like Brad Mellema or the Sports Council on the need for all of that, and Mary Burley could definitely speak as a parent to the travels that she does on a regular basis, going to these tournaments and events with her kids. They can speak to that directly, but this report did say it validates that there is regional indoor tournament demand. For a successful indoor sports center, it is recommended that the City of Grand Island engage with a third-party operator experienced in hosting regional and national tournaments to be successful. An expanded veterans complex also presents an opportunity to tap into the outdoor tournament market, even though we know that's a limited period of time and weather-driven sometimes, but definitely opportunity there. And then when you get the final report and you're able to look through some of the economic and fiscal impact data, you'll also see that both venues combined do provide a significant impact for Grand Island, a positive impact. So I did my best to kind of cover Victus slides and stuff, but I do want to give you just a little, it's a handful of bottom lines from Grow Grand Island's perspective, if you'll let me. You know, when we engaged in that advocacy campaign back in July of '24, we definitely believed in the project. We felt privileged to have the state wanting to invest in our community, and we were eager to get behind it. And that's why it was easy for us to do that campaign and go out to the community and look people in the eye and tell them, this is going to be great. And that's what we did in July. We feel the same way today. So our feelings have not changed. We feel this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. And we know we need to get it right. That's important. But we also need some forward momentum and maybe just a sense that things are moving in a direction. We engaged in this study because we felt it would help move the ball forward, that if we could take and validate that what y'all have looked at for a couple of years is still valid, if we can provide additional financial and fiscal impact information, that's going to help you feel good about how you go forward from there. But here's another thing we also believe. The Nebraska legislature has already been attacking this legislation for a couple of years. And last year's changes or amendments, and I understand why they did it. I get it. I totally get it. Last year's amendments did have an impact on our project with the limits that they put. But we believe that the Nebraska legislature is going to continue to do that because there's 5 projects sitting out there. And we believe that we need to find our way forward with our project sooner rather than later. If we go into another legislative session like we did last legislative session, you feel like you almost are stuck. You have to wait and see what happens, you know what I mean? And if there's something we can do to avoid being in that position as we go into this next session, I think it would be a fantastic thing for Grand Island. So now what? Where do we go from here? Well, we will have a final report very, very soon. And we did this study knowing that we wanted to share it with whatever stakeholders are interested in thumbing through it and looking at it. But we do need some really strong leadership right now and really think it has to come from the city and from the city council. And if we're going to make this happen, that's what we need, and we need it sooner rather than later. But I would challenge you as a city council. I would challenge the mayor. I would challenge the city administration. What does that look like in the coming months? What is our game plan between now and the end of the year? And what are the things that we can do that help move us to that? Because your alternative is basically stalling and punting, and I don't think that's a very good one. So I guess I would leave you with that challenge, and I would also say, what more can Grow Grand Island do to help? Because we want to help. So Like I said, I am happy to listen to your comments and take your questions. Again, I am likely not going to be able to address any specific questions about the study, but like I said, Walter is online with us, and he will be happy to respond to those completely, and we'll get back to you as quickly as possible. So with that, I'm going to let you take the floor.
I think we'll have some questions, but we have two more people who'd like to speak.
Jay Vavricek, did you want to speak?
Yes.
Maybe, yeah.
How are you? Well, thank you. I was Jay Vavricek. I was coming because I understood that Victus was going to be here and get down into specifics, so I'm kind of stepping back, and this is kind of like just an overview of maybe some thoughts. So I guess my opinions aren't much different than maybe a consultant's, but I would just say that in today's world of convention and sports facilities, I mean, just look at what whoever or whatever this facility might be positioned to take on, but Kearney has a tremendous facility, and that's going to be a tough facility to compete with. And I just know firsthand from my grandkids that go ahead and each and every Sunday go to Lincoln. There's top-notch facilities there of multi-courts, basketball and volleyball already. And when you look at this report, it says there need to be strong partnerships and marketing and so forth, et cetera. Well, when you get down to a facility of 100,000 square feet of 8 different basketball courts, I mean, you're talking $25 million to build, plus the ground as well. And then you get down to how are you going to make that work? And so I'm somewhat guarded in saying this is maybe a lofty thing to achieve for, but when you look at the investments that we've already made, that you've already earmarked for Ryder Park improvements, the skate park that was just announced the other day, the investment we have in the water park going forward. I mean, we're making a lot of investments for youth. So I just point out this, and I think I read it in the report, so if I'm incorrect, but I think it said that there was strong interest for aquatics, for indoor swimming and so forth. Well, and indeed, we've talked about that for years and years. And that's a around-the-clock 12-month facility that could not only appeal to youth, but appeal to an aging population. And I sometimes wonder, at this stage of my life, if we're not devoting enough thoughts to how we support seniors and their activities and be vibrant. And so when I think about this going forward of an aquatic facility, doggone it, let's go ahead and have maybe a mayor task force or something and get that ball going and figure out how to make that work. And maybe it would be a component on the Wasonia project, because as I understand, the Good Life District has to have some ability to draw out-of-state visitors, and indeed an aquatic facility would be helpful. But that's not going to be a slam dunk either, but I think it would be helpful for the community here. Kearney has a tremendous YMCA aquatic facility. Fremont as well. Lincoln just has the same thing, but what we have now is probably less than shiny and probably something less than even used for full capacity here. And of course, next door is the Grand Generation Center, and when I sat on that board, I mean, it was difficult, and I think not even impossible, but we couldn't even get the city to go ahead and move snow removal on that lot. So when you go down this whole road, let me just talk Ivory Tower. When I once again look at all the different needs that we could maybe project in our community, and when you look at exhibition space, we do need more exhibition space on the Fonder Park campus. And there's ground that the city has where it could maybe accommodate this very facility. And maybe it's contrary to what you envision up north, but if you have an exhibition facility there of multi-purpose courts, basketball, volleyball, then it can be subleased to the state fair to use for its opportunity for 60 or 90 days. And it could also complement all the different facilities that's already on that site. So when you go to all of those different things, then you ultimately say, how are you going to pay for this? Well, you know, it's in a redevelopment area. There could be tax increment financing if it's privately owned. It could go ahead and also look at a clawback tax for state sales taxes that are made within, I think, 600 yards of that facility. And then you get down to how you're going to go ahead and run it, and there's lots of different partners there. So when I think about the needs of what's proposed here, I was just trying to surprise that Victus wasn't here to get down into the report itself, and we've got a lot of different studies over the years where it's shown this is possible, these are the pitfalls and so forth. But indeed, it would be nice, but it would be something that would really be a task to take on. So I hope that maybe some folks will step forward answering that. And with that, I just appreciate the opportunity to be here and say hello and hear the input from Tanya as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Steele.
Gerald Pools, would you like to speak?
Gerald Pools, excuse me, and thank you. I have to agree with most of what former Mayor Vavricek had to say. I would like to point out in this study, the conclusion on page 16, Victus cautions, however, that there is significant competition. And that is, have we done a study on a backlog? Is there a teams that want to rent out other facilities? Are they, is there really that a big a demand for an extra facility? So, and the other thing is that they interviewed, 13 stakeholder groups, and almost all of them were involved with the city of Grand Island or in some capacity or another. And you just really don't hear too much dissent from people that are involved in these types of issues. I'm probably one of the few that will dissent, but I really think if you're going to talk about stakeholders, that you need to be talking to the man on the street, a survey, somehow. Those are the people, the stakeholders are the ones that are going to pay for it, not the what's that story, the mice wanted to put a bell around the cat's neck. Oh, great idea. Well, who's going to pay for it? And that's a big issue with so many of the expenses that the city finds. Who's going to pay for it? And it's the stakeholders. So, thank you.
Mr. Sheard?
Thank you. Couple comments and questions. First, I guess to address something that Jay asked about using Fonner Park. Everything in this is directed towards the Good Life District, and the legislature said we can't expand to Fonner Park. So while Fonner Park is a great location, that's just not germane right now. We can't, it's out of our hands to be able to do that, if I'm correct. The expansion idea is gone. So using the money from the Good Life, we are restricted to this area. So one of the things, Tanya, you said was that back in July of last year, which is hard to believe, over a year ago since we went to the community and said, hey, support this. One of the things that was included in that was the aquatic center. In a lot of the marketing materials, a lot of the conversations, there was an aquatic center. Did Victus, that you know of, I know I was interviewed for this, and I don't know how much we talked about it, but did they do a feasibility on using the aquatic center as a draw for competitions in the region?
It wasn't specifically part of what they were looking at. They were looking at the sports complex and in and of itself. When the final report comes out, you'll see some references, I'm sure, to it. But it's my understanding that between Woodsonia and the city, there is a common path or a way to make that happen. And I can't speak to that, but it's my understanding that Woodsonia has offered up a way to make that happen, and the city has looked at that way to make that happen, and when it gets to...
We haven't seen their plan yet, so I guess I don't
Okay,
know,
yeah.
but I know that
Yeah, I
that
know enough
was,
to be dangerous, Jack, and so all I'll say is that the aquatic center certainly in the discussion as far as I know.
well, it's certainly in the discussion, I think, from conversations we've had here at council about it being very important and almost a non-negotiable, I would say. Speaking to some of what Jay talked about, I do think with some of the concerns that are raised in this, that it would give us that advantage that maybe it is year-round, and it would be something, I kind of wish they would have looked at that as part of the study to see, could we be a regional draw for competitions in the aquatics? You know, when we talked, they said that they would make suggestions. They wouldn't just say, this plan that we've seen, sorry, I'll try to speak louder, that this plan that they've seen isn't the end-all be-all, but they're looking at what is actually good for Grand Island. And they said, you know, that might mean it should be a pickleball facility, and it would be nothing but pickleball, because that's what would give us an advantage. I didn't see anything in here that said what would work. They just kind of addressed here some of what has been talked about. Do you know in that final study, is it going to showcase suggestions for what would be successful in Grand Island?
I've seen a rough draft of that report briefly, so I can't tell you 100%, but I know Walter is listening, and he will definitely get back with you.
Walter,
on-
we're counting on you, buddy. Walter.
What was that?
That was me. Because I think that would be important to know. I know with competition in Kearney that wasn't necessarily clear when the Good Life District first came to be, and potential competition in Grand Island with another complex. It does worry me that we don't have, you know, that we have something that is going to be popular enough and a destination enough. And I guess I think Jerry pointed out, there is some things in this study that give pause, that give me a little worry, that don't paint the full picture. And I hope that we get to see a full picture that says this is the right idea, especially, as you said, when we see some of the financial data.
Yeah, and I do know there's going to be some pro forma data in that final report that will be based on what would be projected or perceived activities going on there, so.
All right. That's all I have, and I know we have more people that want to talk. So.
Mr. Hawsey?
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Tanya, for presenting tonight under the circumstances, so I do appreciate that. The Good Life District is a 30-year plan, and so there's a 30-year clock running on the Good Life District. This is now the third financial/feasibility study that we've done. We went to the voters 14 months ago, and overwhelmingly the voters approved moving forward. I think there's going to be a lot of things that need to be answered moving forward. For example, who's going to manage it? You know, I think we do need outside management to come in, and somebody who specializes in managing indoor and outdoor facilities. I think it's a skill all among its own, kind of like when we brought in Venue Works to do the Heartland Event Center. That's going to be needed. So I think there's a lot of things that council's going to have to address over the next coming term. But I think for all the time that has passed, it's time. We have an application from Woodsonia that we haven't seen or voted on at this point. We do need to move forward. And I think some of these decisions aren't stop, drop, you know. It's a matter, we need to look at all these things as they come through. We want to see Victus's financial information as well. We've already seen other financial information, but the clock has rolled 2 more years. And so you can keep studying it for the next 2 years, and you'll have to do another study again. You know, bond council required a newer study. And so it's a matter of, at some point in this process, in this 30 years, we're going to be dealing with this all the time. Future councils are going to have to deal with it. We need to get it in front of us, move forward, because it's going to take a while to build. You know, and we need to include all of those things we want to include. But we don't have one decision point. We've got 100 decision points, in front of us moving forward. So I just think it's time for us to move forward. I want to see the plan come from Woodsonia. I want to see their Victus's financial report. I want to see it all, but I don't want to stop for any of it. We've already stopped for a long time. We mentioned the political risk. Well, because we stopped before the last legislative session, we stopped and waited, and yeah, we got a little bit of a shave. But we still got a great project. We got a lot of momentum in Grand Island. I don't want to stop the momentum based on when the next study is going to get done, because by the time this one gets done, it's already outdated. Things change. I think it's time to, continue to move this program forward, continue to start moving dirt. We need to start doing things. Maybe we don't do everything, but I think, like Mayor Vavricek had said, I think this aquatic thing is kind of cooked into the process already. I don't think it's going to be any big draw. I think it's going to be a challenge, one of the parks Director Todd has to deal with, moving forward. It's not going to attract people from multiple states, but it's going to be a wonderful facility for a community that really needs it, and so I think it would be a big boost for a lot of reasons. And we do need to look at the finances. We do need to make sure that's sustainable and affordable. But we're not going to make all those decisions before we've even moved, a spoonful of dirt. And so I'm grateful for the process, but I think at this time we need to move forward and move with some sense of urgency. Construction costs aren't getting any cheaper. I just want to continue to move forward. We may say no to something down the road, but tonight I appreciate the presentation, and I'm looking forward to continuing this process.
Mr. Stell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Tanya, I'd like to thank you for your good work that your organization's done. I, too, am a supporter of the Aquatic Center part of it. The other thing, I would like it to be like a small Bob Devaney Coliseum where we can have a lot of basketball tournaments, we can have wrestling meets there, statewide wrestling, gymnastics, and those events that are held throughout the state. I think it's it could really be a good draw statewide if we'd start bringing some of the events that are held in Lincoln and Omaha to the Tri-City area. I think it'll give us a good competitive advantage. Thank you.
Mr. Nickerson.
Just a few things for the study next time we meet. I'm going to just echo what everybody else has said. The aquatics thing was missing in all of this, and I think it will bring competition. It's not going to be as big as some of the other things, but it is important. It's important to the community. It's important to this council as of right now. The pickleball will be an issue. I know that I saw the word up there a couple of times, but not as big as basketball, volleyball. I even saw table tennis. I'm not even sure who's doing that. I used to play ping pong, but not at the level these people probably do. The question that I'd like more information on is we talked about adequate lodging. And I don't know if that means it talked in the narrative a little bit. Does that mean at the complex or overall? Because I'd kind of like to understand that. I think the bottom line is, and Keith, I don't know if you know this magic number, but I can't imagine that we're more than 5 miles from one point of Grand Island to the farthest point on the other way. I don't know. I'm kind of thinking we're like 5 miles, and it's not that far from all of our lodging. It's not that far, especially if you can hit 281 and be right where you need to go pretty quickly. So I don't know the lodging part. The MSA focus is kind of interesting. I'm not sure why there's so much focus on the MSA. I'd like to understand that better because teams come from everywhere. They don't necessarily come from an MSA when you're competing. And then as we look down the road here in internal conversations on whatever the final product will be as we get there, I don't think it's a bad thing to have some dedicated courts for some of these specific sports and not necessarily all multi-purpose. I think we just have to understand the space it takes. It's just easier that way, and you can have multiple things happening at one time. So that's something that I think we'd want to talk about internally as well as we look at a master plan. But I don't know that you have to have courts that will turn into volleyball and basketball and pickleball, and then who gets to use it when, and we might be able to be bigger than that. Aquatics, definitely important, and then, but the other things, I'd like to have those elaborated on. Thanks.
Mr. Pollock.
Thank you, Mayor. I don't intend on speaking for the whole council. I just know that an aquatic center is either a make it or break it. The first time we mentioned this and talked about it, I said, if there's not going to be an aquatic center, you won't have my vote. It's that plain and simple. We've kicked this can around longer than I've been here, I think, Chuck. So we need to look at this. We can have swim meets, all kinds of things with an aquatic center. And we can also have it incorporated in with the basketball courts, pickleball courts, all of that stuff. And yes, is it going to be expensive? You bet it is. It's not going to be cheap. It just depends on what you want to do. And if we need to go bigger, we need to find where we're going to get some income. And that's plain and simple. But with no aquatic center, I think you might as well write this off. Thank you, folks.
Mr. O'Neill.
I'd like to kind of second what Mr. Pollock is saying as well. For me, the aquatic center is critically important. It was needed decades ago in Grand Island. And I don't want just kind of a partial plan or idea or a thought for it. We need a complete plan for what that will be and how it'll work. I really want to hear more about that. And to me, it's a non-starter without having a finished and quality aquatic center. The other key thing is really how do you differentiate from other facilities in other communities. I've traveled around a lot of these events over the years. I've seen what a lot of facilities have to offer. I do think a lot of it is about quality and some of the amenities there. There's pretty big discrepancies in some of these, and I think that's what attracts people. They want to be at the nicer ones that are more comfortable to be at and have a little more to offer than something that's a little bit more primitive with less infrastructure. But it's my 2 cents. But thank you.
I've heard Victus talk about how the experience, like let's say you attract an event for 1 year and the audience shows up to the event, that whole experience that they have is essential to the sustainability of that event going forward. So it's not just the facility, it's not just the amenities, there's like an experience there that has to be felt, and that's key to being successful.
Exactly. That's what they remember, why they want to come back. So.
Yeah, that's what you're talking about.
Yep. The main thing is don't just get them 1 year, make them want to come back every year. So.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Brown, for your presentation. We'll start our regular meeting in about 3 minutes.
Oh, thank you.
Sorry, Jeff. It's okay. Me? Yeah. Looked like you did. I've got a bunch of, if I need to click on something, it's there. There you go. It's really not.
Oh, goodness.
It's a whole bunch of things in the file, but they're, if I need them, they're available. And
You'll have to nudge him. Welcome to our meeting. We're starting our meeting, ladies and gentlemen. I would appreciate your attention. We are starting our meeting. This is the date is September 23, 2025. The time is 7 p.m. This is an open meeting of the Grand Island City Council. The City of Grand Island abides by the Open Meetings Act in conducting business. A copy of the Open Meetings Act is displayed in the back of this room as required by state law. The City Council may vote to go into closed session on any agenda item as allowed by state law. Please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The clerk will now perform roll call.
Council President Sheard.
Present.
Councilmember Stelk.
Present.
Councilmember Conley.
Present.
Councilmember Nickerson.
Present.
Councilmember Brown.
Present.
Councilmember Hazy.
Present.
Councilmember Mendoza. Present. Councilmember O'Neill.
Present.
Councilmember Pollock.
Present.
Councilmember Lanfer will be absent, and Mayor Steele.
Present. Also present are Jill Grenier, the city clerk, Patrick Brown, the assistant city administrator and chief financial officer, Carrie Fisk, the city attorney, and Keith Kurtz, the public works director. Individuals who have appropriate items for city council consideration should complete the request for future agenda items form located at the information booth. If the issue can be handled administratively without council action, notification will be provided. If the item is scheduled for a meeting or study session, notification of the date will be given. Council members, Mr. Nickerson has removed 7H from the consent agenda. 6H, pardon me, 6H? And 6L will be pulled. Any other requests to remove consent agenda items, council members? Hearing none, we shall continue. A sign-up sheet was available in the lobby for individuals wishing to provide input on any of tonight's agenda items. If you did not sign up to speak on an agenda item, please come forward, state your name, and the agenda topic on which you will be speaking. No one has come forward, so we shall continue. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda with the exception of 6H and 6L? Mr. Sheard.
Thank you. I move that we pass the consent agenda, items 6A through T, with the exceptions of H and L.
Mr. O'Neill.
I second the motion.
Any discussion?
Please vote. Motion adopted.
6H, approving bid award lead service line inventory 2025 to 2026. Mr. Schmitz, please present.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I'll just give a little update on where the lead service program is. This item is actually for an inventory for the next fiscal year, so we get firm pricing on all components we need from October 1 to October 1, so not to exceed $300,000. The program itself right now, we've kind of gained traction, so it's off and going. We've discovered 779, so we've investigated 779 of the 3,000 total. And I'll keep in mind, this was a 10-year program, so we're on target there. We're ahead of target on discovery. 476 were determined to be lead, so we're finding a 61% hit rate on those that were suspected. We've replaced 199 between our contractor we're using and our crews. And the original credit line from the state was $4.5 million that we took out. So far, we've expended $2.2 million, and we've been reimbursed for $1.4 million. We also, in November, expect another $600,000 draw, which will get us close to our total expenditures. So between the discovery, the installation, and the work we do inside the house, we figure it's going to average around $10,000 a service. I got two more slides here, but when we're mobilized, they're averaging 9 to 10 a week. Our third-party contractor has made as many as 15 a week. So these pictures here, on the left is the boring machine they use. It's a smaller, it's kind of a directional drill that sits in there. And on the right, you can see the guys locating the head of that pipe as it goes through the ground, which allows them to almost exactly locate it into the basement. And so on the right, the picture on the right is all the bigger hole was. Mitch may recognize that hole in the basement. And so the guys go in, and part of the process is to verify the grounding in the house is the integrity of the grounding is sufficient. If it's not, they contact the building department. If it does not have a backflow device, we add a backflow device, and then we also add an expansion tank if one is not there. And then on the left is just kind of a standard installation with a copper line. So in the contamination areas, we're using copper, and in the non-contamination plume areas of town, we will use poly. And that's kind of a quick synopsis. So with that, I'll open to questions.
Thank you, Mr. Brown.
I move we approve agenda item 6H.
Thank you, Mr. Nickerson.
I second that motion.
Mr. Nickerson?
Yeah, thank you, Ryan, for updating us. I just think it's nice to be updated. This goes on, and we really don't see it unless you happen to be right now in northeast Grand Island, and you notice all these little homes in a row that have dug up roads and all this stuff, and these guys that are doing this are doing a tremendous job. The 15 a week is tremendous. I know Gus is staying busy, trying to stay ahead of them. Gus is our liaison, I don't know what we would call him, that stays ahead to inform people like me. And in full disclosure, I've had that's my property right there, one of my properties that had galvanized pipe coming in and had lead pipe. So I've benefited from that. Didn't know it at the time when we passed it, and I'm not sure, Carrie, if that would have even mattered. But it's a great process. They're efficient. And I just think it's one of those things that it's a good thing to get rid of things that can harm you. And this is one of the positive things we've seen from the federal government. My question is, you've tapped about half of what the state has, and we know we still got a long ways to go. Do you see anything changing on the horizon from what you've seen that would keep us from being able to accomplish the full 10-year? I know it's premature, I guess. I'm just going to ask what you may have seen or heard.
We haven't heard anything to date on the program going away. At the pace we're going now, we're probably looking at maybe coming back to council in the next year and a half to go forward with another request to the state. We would probably do a bigger credit line, since there doesn't appear to be a downside to asking for a larger, because you're not getting the loan, you're actually just getting a credit line. So the next time around, we may look to do more like a $10 million credit. But at this time, no, there hasn't been any news on it going away. We haven't received that. But we do watch, as you see in the news, things change sometimes daily, so we try to stay on top of it.
It's a great program, and again, we're removing bad things from people's homes. I think that's the positive, and in an efficient manner. Thank you.
A lot of programs, it takes a little bit to get things going, but we're really rolling now. Our crews have really got a process down.
Motion adopted.
Consent agenda item, pardon me. Consent agenda item 6L, approval of fiscal year 2025 to 2026 contract with Grow Grand Island. Mrs. Fisk?
Mayor and council, what you have before you is a new contract between the city and Grow Grand Island. The prior contracts that have existed all have lapsed and expired. The contract you see is substantially similar to what you've seen before, except it creates an initial term of a 4-year with an optional 2-year renewal. It sets the budget as you have established already at $500,000 for the first year, and allows that to be changed as you set each year's budget. The other material change you'll see is it expands the termination notice up to about 6 months, because that's realistically what would be necessary to wind that contract down should it become necessary. Otherwise, it is the same as what you have seen for about the last 10 years.
Dave Averchek, would you like to speak on this item?
Well, thank you for the opportunity. I spoke on this several weeks ago, so I wanted to go ahead and also be an advocate on a particular portion of this because, well, I guess for starters, I wasn't aware that the Tax Oversight Committee actually makes recommendations. I just thought it looked at the accountability and usage of funds. So when I saw that in the presentation, I guess I learned something from that. But also I know that Grow Grand Island, while it's been very successful, when I look at that presentation, I think some of it needs to be updated because right now between the Chamber and the Economic Development Corporation, that's morphed really into one and indicates that there's maybe multiple representatives there. But also, I guess, to some degree, be more forthcoming and know who are the different players and 5 people at large that also are involved with that. It'd just be good to know. But in particularly, if I said this under well, economic development, under LB 840, that was voter approved, $1 million a year, and everything that comes forward of everything under that fund takes council approval. A TIF application requires council approval. When you looked at the fact that of food and beverage expenditures, all the different projects that come forward for that require council approval. And also when I look at the guidelines of the proposal, the guidelines really can't be changed, but the agreement could be. The agreement is an instrument that you're approving that could be modified. So I would just draw your attention when you look at, what is it, under the agreement, 7A and 7B. It particularly itemizes the fact that the projects from Grow Grand Island are approved by one person, the city administrator. And when you look at what we're going to be discussing later on this evening with different multiple city administrators over a period of time, why wouldn't that make sense to have, like everything that comes before you, the city administrator can make a recommendation pending council approval? I think it strings a stronger message of accountability, but also on this agreement, this is probably going to be maybe a 6-year agreement. This could be talking upwards of $3 million over the next 6 years. And I just know from my tenure of service, once you deal with something tonight, you may never deal with it again for years and years. So if you wanted to go ahead and look at modifying the agreement to say, indeed, under 7A and 7B, the city administrator can make a recommendation and those projects would have final approval with a vested interest of you and your elected service as taxpayers expect on everything that comes forward that the mayor signs a check for. So I would just ask, if there's interest in that remark, this is the time to go ahead and make that change. And I doubt if, I can't speak for Tanya and the different individuals there, but when you look at members of the Economic Development Council, the Chamber of Commerce, the Grand Island Convention and Visitor Bureau, Fonder Park, all those different representatives, I think they'd understand and appreciate the fact that while they're making a recommendation, it's going to be validated, and also it's going to be validated with council and the mayor's approval, whoever that may be, with any recommendations coming forward. The last part, if I said, if I asked anyone, what is Grow Grand Island and what projects has it funded in the past years? I doubt many people would know. But if any projects come forward for its approval at the council, there's a better opportunity for those people to understand what's coming forward, maybe weigh in, but I think it would be good for Grow Grand Island to have that type of awareness going forward. So in terms of public trust and greater awareness, I would just ask if there's interest to make them modified with a very simple change to where the agreement would state projects recommended by the city administrator with approval, final approval of the council. Now, the last portion, when I look through that 7A and 7B, it says, and I see Mr. Hawsey looking at this, it says if there's anything that the council, if there's any city projects, the council would ask. So it does bring up the fact that maybe the council could seek those funds, but it doesn't also further indicate that it would require council approval. And I just know going back years ago when we were faced with, we didn't have any bucks, but we wanted to keep Lincoln Park Pool going. So there was a way, a novel way at the time where the CRA was involved. The council and the city administration sought that ability, and it also brings up the fact that maybe the CRA may also potentially be a partner and seek those. So that's what I wanted to bring up for consideration, to see if you wouldn't agree that taxpayer accountability would be better served, greater awareness be better served, and just simply have council approve any projects.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Steele and council.
Mr. Sheard?
Thank you. I move that we approve item 6L.
Mr. O'Neill?
I second.
Mr. Sheard?
Thank you. I wanted to throw my support behind this. The 4+2, I had a conversation with Brad Melma today, and he is already super excited about the ability to leverage that for long-term opportunities for the city and through Grow Grand Island and some of the things they're doing. So I appreciate that we were flexible on that. They came and talked to us, and 4+2 rather than the previous. I think that's fantastic change. I kind of, I appreciate some of the things that Jay just said, but we do have representation from the council that goes to those meetings, that has our voice, that adds into some strategy. I think Mark and Chuck go to those and report to us occasionally on what's going on. While I wish Grow Grand Island would tout their accomplishments a little bit more so people would know, I do believe with the city administrator going to those meetings as well, I don't know that we need to bring everything they bring to us. I don't think it has to come back to us. That's part of what was approved originally. So I guess I'm not seeing a big need for that change, though I do appreciate the conversation.
Mr. Nickerson?
I also appreciate the recommendation tonight to involve council, but to Jack's point, we do have representation, and I am assuming if there was something that didn't seem right, that would be challenged at that point. I would certainly hope so. I do believe that Grow Grand Island does give a report, though, and I cannot request anybody to come forward, but it would be nice for us to know what kind of report they do disclose with us and on the frequency of that report, because there is a disclosure that is given to us, and I would just ask whatever those rules are, if it comes from the city attorney or any representative here, that wants to speak to it, I think it's important that we share that tonight. What's the disclosure with the Grow Grand Island?
Councilmember Nickerson, I believe those are given regularly to your tax oversight committee that you create and place individuals on, so they do pretty regular reporting back to a city subcommittee.
And that's quarterly, correct? Yes, so there's a quarterly meeting. It's not a public meeting like this, but there is a committee meeting, and those items are shared. I also believe that Grow Grand Island does present to us, though, on occasion, what's going on as a whole.
Correct. They also present, when they present their annual budget, and the Tax Oversight Committee is actually an open meeting held quarterly here in council chambers, so anybody who wants to come get those reports can join that committee and get those as well.
Okay, so there's exposure. There is some here in these chambers, and there are others in subcommittees where they're being reviewed on a regular basis. So I think we do have some participation there that makes sense. Now, I'm going to be a little contrary to Jack. I'm not crazy about a 4+2, and I stated before, when we talked about Grow Grand Island, why that is. I also understand there are reasons that termination can be enacted. And my concern for anything longer than 2 years is changes in leadership change the effectiveness of some organizations. And we've seen that happen right here in Grand Island with a very successful organization that had leadership that took it down in a matter of months. My concern is when you've got a 4-year agreement already in place, depending on who's watching, we need to be sure that we are not letting things get out of control should changes in leadership affect the effectiveness of that. And I'm going to just have to trust that the system will work, but I'm not crazy about a 4+2. I would much rather see it in the 2-year segments and to where it had a little closer oversight. But overall, I'm a firm believer in Grow Grand Island, what they've done for us. Their dedication to the things that I think that a lot of our food and beverage taxes need to be committed to. That would be the economic development part and focus on the ag industry. We have to have that support in there. I think they do a good job of doing that. So I'm supporting it, just not crazy about the terms.
Mr. Hossie.
Thank you, Mayor. I sit currently as a representative on the Grow Grand Island Board, and I am totally impressed with the number of volunteer people who take their skill and talent from the real world and bring it to the city through Grow Grand Island. These are people that volunteer their time and thoughts and just everything to help make it work. I know what Mayor Vavricek is talking about, and he knows me, is that if I saw something that I didn't like, I will absolutely be talking to the city administrator, and the city administrator would not be approving it. And so the process works, the administration works today, and it's one of those is I'm comfortable with the way it has been working, and I'm comfortable that we have the oversight that we need by having 2 council reps and an administration, and I just have watched it work and seen the benefits that they have brought to the community. And this is a great investment for the community, and I think it takes a burden off of the council, and they do things that we can't do or don't do very well. And so they actually make things happen. And so I'm appreciative of the Grow Grand Island, and this is the right contract and the right term. I know that when other people are out there with Grow Grand Island trying to recruit people to come to Grand Island for some kind of event 3 years from now, that's the time frame we're talking about. That's why the 2+2 doesn't work when we're trying to book an event at the Heartland Event Center 4 years from now. And so in the terms of tourism, we're out there in terms of years all the time. So the 4+2, I think, is the best of all worlds for what we can have. I think the council has the discretion every year with the budget allocation. If at some point the council doesn't want to fund it anymore, don't approve any money in the budget, and the contract can sit there with no funding. So there are levers that the council can turn if they have to. But no, I'm very supportive of this contract, and it'll have my approval.
Please vote. Motion adopted.
Public hearing 7A, public hearing request from STL of Nebraska, Inc. doing business as Target, 3400 West 13th Street, Grand Island, Nebraska, for a Class D liquor license. Mrs. Grenier?
An application for a Class D liquor license was filed with the Liquor Control Commission and received by the city on August 20th, 2025. A notice to general public of date, time, and place of hearing was published on September 13th, 2025. A notice to the applicant of date, time, and place of hearing was mailed on August 21st, 2025, along with Chapter 4 City Code Alcoholic Beverages. Departmental reports were received as required by City Code, and the recommendation is to approve upon final inspection. Public hearing is now open. Aaron Larson, did you want to speak, or just if there's questions? Yeah. Okay, come on up.
Hello.
State your name.
I'm Erin Larson.
Thank you.
Sorry, I've never done this before. So I'm the store director for Target, so I'm here for the hearing. I guess my biggest thing is specifically we are looking for approval. I am here standing for Target. So we do open on October 12th. So we are waiting just on vendors to officially walk through our building to set up their liquor. But yes, so I guess that's why I'm here.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak on this item? If not, public hearing is now closed.
Mr. O'Neill?
I move that we approve 2025-330.
Mr. Brown?
I second that motion.
Any discussion? Mr. Nickerson?
One thing, Ms. Larson, I just wanted to let you know that there's a lot of excitement about Target coming, and I think we got a whole community that can't wait till October 12th. Thank you for being here, and I think this is probably going to go through just fine, but we appreciate seeing that big development there and a lot of excitement growing. So thank you.
Please vote. Motion adopted.
7B, public hearing on site-specific redevelopment plan, CRA Area 36, TMT Investments, Montana. Mr. Nabity?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. The item before you this evening is a TIF application from Tom and Matt Middleton, TMT Investments, and the Montana is there. I heard somebody in the audience say, TMT Montana, where did that come from? That came from me naming this project based on who's doing it and what street it's on. So this is on Montana Avenue, which is located just south of Highway 2 and to the west of Idaho Avenue, between Idaho Avenue and Independence. We did, about 2 years ago, you approved a TIF project for Pat O'Neill and his company, and they did 3 duplexes up there. Matt and Tom Middleton are looking at doing 9 duplexes on the remainder of those lots that are up there. The project is about a $4.6 million project with an expected valuation upon completion of about $3.6 million. They are requesting $875,000 in tax increment financing. These do qualify as workforce housing units, so they are eligible for construction as part of the cost of the eligible activities. The expected increment on this is that it would generate about $920,000 over the course of 15 years. We are expecting that this will be developed over the next 2 or 3 years, so it will have multiple contract dates with no individual unit being given TIF for a period of more than 15 years, but they may overlap or would overlap. The Planning Commission did hold a public hearing on this and found that it is consistent with the comprehensive plan and the zoning that is in place, and the CRA did approve the plan and recommended approval to the City Council. If you approve this evening, I will send it on to the attorney to draw up the contracts so that we can get it back to CRA for approval, and they can, and then Middleton's can begin working on it.
Public hearing is now open. Zach Butts, would you like to speak?
Good evening. Thank you, everybody. Zach Butts. I am here as legal counsel for TMT this evening. I keep thinking that one of these meetings, I know I've been in front of you a time or two here, I won't be able to say that Grand Island needs housing, but we're not at that meeting quite yet. So I won't belabor that point, but we have, as Chad mentioned, and thank you, Chad, by the way, for your introduction on the project, 9 duplex units that we want to create. Bruce Schreiner's done a lot of work on this tonight, and he couldn't be here with us, but the financials and things that you see, that was prepared by Schroeder and Schreiner. I'll give a little bit of an overview on those, kind of rehash some of what Chad said, but as he mentioned, it's well in excess of $4 million on this project with approximately $3.6 million valuation at the end of this. We're asking for $875,000. That number came from crunching some things with the bank and Bruce's work on the accounting. We thought that was the minimum number that we could ask for to still meet the margins that we need. Within the regulations, we think we could probably ask for a little bit more, ask closer to that $920,000, but there'd be about $45,000 of that that essentially wouldn't be needed to do what we need to do. And so we want to be entering into this public-private partnership in good faith, and we don't want to over-ask for what we don't need. And so it's why we're coming in at $875,000 tonight. From a purely legal standpoint, you know, you guys have to assess the but-for test of any TIF project, and we can meet that. There's the margins on this are tight enough that from the bank's perspective, this project isn't moving forward without TIF. This isn't, we'll just rejigger a couple things and do it slightly different. It's not happening. From a more practical standpoint, there's some real estate transactional work that's conditional on this. We've got to acquire the rest of the real estate. That's only happening if TIF is met. So this isn't going to be slightly shifted and still get done. This is, with your approval, it's happening as you see it. Without your approval, it's a blank slate, and we're back to the drawing board, and probably nothing's getting built there anytime soon. So we're thankful for the support of the CRA. They were frankly appreciative of our ask and not going for quite as much as we could ask for. They were also appreciative of the fact that a lot of the housing that they've been seeing lately are some larger, a little bit more massive units. These are going to be a little more tailored, a little more focused for our potential customers here. And again, we're thankful for regional planning for their verification that this fits within the comprehensive plan. We want to answer any questions that we can for you tonight. If you really, really want to get into the weeds on numbers, we can get Bruce on the phone here. But otherwise, I'm available. Tom and Matt Middleton are available. And we look forward to your support. And hopefully with that support, we look forward to kicking off a cool housing project for the city. So thank you all very much.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak on this item? If not, public hearing is now closed.
Mr. Hossie?
Thank you, Mayor. I move to approve Resolution 2025-331.
Mr. Pollock?
And I would second that.
Mr. O'Neill?
Just a quick question for either Tom or Matt. But if this were approved tonight, how long do you think it would be until you'd expect to start building?
Very, very shortly. We haven't turned the plans into the city yet because we didn't know if it passed. The plans haven't been drawn.
So as soon as you possibly could then?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Please vote. Motion adopted.
Public hearing 7C, public hearing on redevelopment plan amendment, area number 17, Prateria Phase 2, July 2025, amendment. Mr. Nabity?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This one is a little bit different than most of them you've seen. Some of you who have been on the council for a number of years saw this come forward in 2019. We had a financial institution planned for the location right at the corner of Husker Highway and Prairie View Street that was approved back in 2019. At the time, it was a drive-through bank that was there. The entity that is building this has turned it from a 7,000 square foot drive-through bank to a 21,000 square foot office for their project. Between the cost of construction over the past 5 years and the changes to the plan, they've gone from a total project with all of the subphases, which would include these 3 lots where Unity Eye Care is, this empty lot, and this lot. They've gone from about $13,700,000 expected expenditures to $22,500,000. With that, they are asking for an increase in the amount of the TIF that would be available for the increased value of this building. They are seeking about 3.1 million total overall on this project. It was, or 3.3 million up from 1.8 million. So that additional valuation is really what is driving this, and the additional cost of construction and of everything that is going on now. Planning Commission did hold a public hearing on this back in August, and they recommended approval, found that it was consistent with the comp plan. Since a bank was consistent 5 years ago, it probably is still consistent. That was not a surprise, but we did go through that process. The CRA has recommended approval. This is the entity that is building there is Equitable Bank. Tom Godowski abstained from any action on this, and it was actually delayed a month because I needed him for quorum in August, and we couldn't do it and have him vote on it, so it was delayed a month. That's why Planning Commission saw it in August, and you're seeing it in September. All that it really does is update the numbers and the plan for the updated building. And I know there's representatives from Chief here as well.
Public hearing is now open. Gerald Pools, would you like to speak on this item? Thank you. Roger Bullington, did you want to speak, or just if there's a question? Sure, yep.
Mayor and Council, my name is Lauren Ihusen. Thank you for letting me be here to talk to you all today. So like Chad said, this financial institution is an amendment that was approved back in 2019. And you might be wondering why this wasn't constructed in 2019. I'm sure we're all familiar with the COVID-19 pandemic that had ramifications on a lot of projects here, not only in our community, but in the nation. We now are looking at this financial institution is going from a branch location, which was about that 66,000 square feet, to a new corporate office. That's what the increase of square footage is. There's going to be about 40 employees working in this office on site every single day. So one of the biggest things about the project is the but-for with the TIF request. When you look at the pro forma, if we are not able to have tax increment financing on this project, unfortunately, the project is not going to be able to happen. And that's with our high construction costs and interest rates right now. I do want to note that this institution is ready to start construction as soon as tomorrow if this is approved. If you guys have any questions, I would be happy to answer them as best I could.
Thank you. Roger, did you want to speak? Okay. Is there anyone else that would like to speak on this item? If not, public hearing is now closed.
Mr. Hossie.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to approve Resolution 2025-332.
Mr. O'Neill.
I second the motion.
Mr. Sheard.
Thank you. I just need to abstain from voting on this due to a conflict of interest.
So noted.
Please vote. Mike, can you vote? Motion adopted.
7D, public hearing on acquisition of utility easement, Legacy 34 subdivision, Tata Hospitality. Mr. Navity?
That's Ryan. Sorry,
Mr. Schmitz?
I was fixing the computer for him.
You can go, though. This is a cleanup from when we did the Hampton Hotel over there. It was, part of an easement was not platted with the original property, so this is adding that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Public hearing is now open. Is there anyone that would like to speak on this item?
Mr. O'Neill?
I move that we approve 2025-333.
Mr. Pollock? Any discussion?
Please vote. Motion adopted.
Resolution 8A, approving fiscal year 2025 to 2026 fee schedule. Mr. Brown?
Thank you, Mayor. Before you is the 25-26 fee schedule. It was presented to you on August 12th, and there has been no changes since then. Administration recommends approval.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Council, a motion is in order. Mr. Brown?
Move we approve 2025 TAC 334.
Thank you, Mr. Pollock. Any discussion?
Please vote. Motion adopted.
Resolution 8B, approving the appointment of Patrick Brown to City Administrator. I will speak to this. By and through Nebraska Revised Statute, Section 16-308, and City of Grand Island Code, Section 2-30 and 2-35, the City of Grand Island has established the appointed position of City Administrator, who is charged with the duties and responsibilities established by state law and Grand Island City Code. Pursuant to Section 2-36, the City Administrator shall be chosen on the basis of executive and administrative qualifications with special reference to actual experience or knowledge of accepted practice in respect to the duties of the office. Any appointment must be made by the mayor, subject to confirmation by the City Council, and is made for the duration of the mayor's term of office. The appointment must also establish the salary rate for the position and be facilitated by a negotiated employment contract. Patrick Brown currently serves the City of Grand Island as the Assistant City Administrator, Chief Financial Officer, and Acting Finance Director/City Treasurer. By virtue of his years of dedicated service to the City of Grand Island, he holds the executive and administrative qualifications required for this position, and he has demonstrated a history of actual experience and knowledge required to faithfully and skillfully fulfill the duties of the City Administrator. I know of Mr. Brown's excellent qualifications because I have seen his work firsthand on a daily basis. I recommend Patrick Brown's appointment as City Administrator effective September 23, 2025. Patrick Brown has accepted said offer and is prepared to start work immediately at Step 9 of the City Administrator salary table. The City Attorney and I will work in consultation with Patrick Brown to finalize an authorized employment contract which includes no additional benefits except for adjustments to leave balances and accrual rates, and an assurance that should a subsequent mayor opt not to reappoint Patrick Brown to serve as City Administrator, unless removed from service by counsel for cause, he shall be entitled to resume his current position as Assistant City Administrator, which shall be held open for up to 2 years of the next mayoral term to facilitate this option for continued service. Council members, I ask that you move to appoint Patrick Brown to the position of City Administrator. Mr. Hossie?
Thank you, Mayor. I am honored to make a motion to approve Resolution 2025-335, appointing Patrick Brown to City Administrator.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Conley?
I would like to second that motion.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Hossie?
Thank you, Mayor. I am grateful for the mayor to bring forward to council this appointment. I have not been on the approving side of the last two appointments coming before the council, and one of the things that is the biggest challenge of this position, when you are working with political staff here on the council, and you're working with professional staff of a dozen directors plus, and you have to build a consensus between both professional and political, it takes a certain personality. Outside of Mitch, I'm the longest-serving council member here, and this is one of those things, it takes a certain skill level. It takes a certain amount of patience. It takes a certain amount of person who can thank people for doing a good job, go out there and be appreciative of team members. And so for those reasons and many others that I'm not going to get into, Pat Brown is the right person at the right time to be appointed today to finish the jobs that we have, and we have many jobs started in the middle of this budget. No one else would be able to do it in such short order. And so I appreciate Patrick's effort. He's been wearing 3 hats up to now, and this is going to be his 4th hat starting tonight.
Mr. Vavricek, we have such a long list tonight, and I apologize, but I overlooked you. You're welcome to approach now and speak.
No exception taken, no disrespect. Thank you. I wish Mr. Brown much success in the future, and I think the mayor's recommendation is very wise, taking into account all the different things that impact this decision, but also looking forward, not knowing how election decisions are going to occur, let alone election outcomes. But indeed, I can just look back in history, and no use going back and looking at all the different circumstances of leadership in that position. But when I see for example, there's only one time in the last 30 years where any mayor has assumed office and had the previous city administrator there in his first meetings. That only happened once when Marlon Ferguson had the reins of city administrator and Ken Gannott, and then when I was first elected. The reason I bring that up, if it's not Mr. Steele going forward and someone else, when I assumed office the second time during that administration, there were long periods of time where there was no city administrator. And when I took office, for months before that, there was no city administrator. And what happens is all the simple things get taken care of, but the most difficult things are waiting there for someone else. And I think it was wise that you created the assistant city administrator position to do just what you're doing. You have someone that's skillful that can step in. And also with the mayor's recommendation, I see the potential loss of institutional knowledge will not be lost going forward under the way that this is proposed. So I just once again congratulate the wisdom of Mayor Steele's recommendation, and wish much success for Mr. Brown. And you're going to have to also now say, is it Mr. Brown? Is it Mr. Patrick Brown? Is it Doug Brown or what? But nonetheless, I think you'll get through that hurdle. Thank you, Mayor Steele.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Sheard?
Thank you. I won't echo everything Chuck said. He said so many good things, but there are a couple of things I wanted to bring up. Brought to what we did last time, where the mayor brought us a recommendation and we said, nope, we need a national search. And he did that. Somebody asked me, why aren't you doing that this time? And it came to our attention, right? And the easy answer is because no one would apply. It would be a waste of our time, first, because no one's going to apply for that job with the mayor election in a year. So it would take us 4 months to hire somebody we would be without. And we have an assistant in this role who is doing a fine job now and has all of the qualifications. If you have an assistant, the assistant should be ready to step in at any time. And beyond that, Pat is pretty awesome. He's done a great job He's been a level head in every conversation I've had with him. He answers questions easily. I think he gets along with just about everybody, to Chuck's point. He does play that line of the politicians like us and the professionals out there and the community as well. So it was an easy answer to that person to say, we have the right person here. The mayor made the right decision, and it's saving us time. We don't need to go without while we look around. I just hope, as Chuck said, he's wearing 4 hats. I hope that he's got enough time for each one of them. Your head's going to get pretty big to hold all those hats, but it's worth it. So I look forward to working with them even more.
Mr. Brown.
I agree with the mayor 100%. Patrick has proven his leadership and dedication to the city of Grand Island, and I'm working with me, and I totally agree with the mayor. Couldn't get a better person.
Mr. Conley.
I agree with a lot of the points here too, but I was just talking about this with some friends, like, God, I think Pat Brown would be good city administrator. It was just like last week. So I'm glad to see that your name's up here tonight, and we're hiring inside instead of going out and searching, because I think it's well-deserved.
Mr. Pollock.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to thank the mayor for picking Pat Brown and Pat for accepting. We've gone the national search route before, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but it always costs a lot of money and a lot of time. And I want to congratulate both of you guys. Excellent job.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Hossie.
Mayor Vavricek reminded me of something when he was speaking, and I have been around quite a while, and so this is the 21st city administrator candidate that has come in front of me while I've been sitting in this chamber. 7 of them were interims, let's go that way. But I have seen a lot of them, and it takes a certain skill level. And it's one of those, it's the skill level that there's a lot of really good people out in the world that don't have this skill level. Not that they're not skilled at something else, but the skill level it takes here is one that's uniquely found in Patrick. And so I've seen a lot of them. I know what works, both from the inside and the outside. I've been on the professional staff, I've been in the political staff, and I know which one can do the balance and find those consensus things. You know, and so I've seen 21 city administrators sitting in that chair, and even times, like Mayor Vavricek said, where there's no one sitting in that chair. And those aren't good times for the professional staff. So I wanted to end with that number of counts.
Mr. Nickerson.
With all the accolades I've heard tonight and read in the paper today, Pat, I'm not sure if we're going to even find a hat that's big enough to fit on that head after tonight. We'll keep looking. But I want to talk about the hats tonight because it's pretty important. Right now, you are filling about every vacancy that there is. And what do we do going forward? And you very well are aware of the seriousness of the situation. Vacancies, we have a finance director, we have, I don't even know what happens to CFO and to the assistant city administrator. We need to talk about that probably. Do they stay on hold for 2 years, 3 years basically now? Or if I understand correctly, the mayor was wanting to incorporate the CFO part in with your administration role. And I think somebody already said, do you have the time? So we need to know, I need to know, I think everybody needs to know, how in the world does this all fit into the world of Patrick Brown, knowing that you are taking over the key role of the city, but there's so many other vacancies that right now you're trying to do it all. How do you do it all, and how do you share that load, or what do we do?
I can answer that briefly. We are in the process of interviewing candidates for a finance director right now, so we hope to get that resolved fairly quickly. And I was the one, when I spoke to the paper, I talked about Mr. Brown's experience as the chief financial officer, and I was referencing he's going to maintain that job organically because he's been doing it for so many years. I wasn't talking about we create that for him. I said it's a function of something he's always done. And I was trying to make the point that Mr. Brown can not only step into the position of the city administrator, but he brings this massive knowledge of finance with him. So it's just a natural thing. He's not going to lose that knowledge, that insight, and as Mr. Vavracek says, that institutional knowledge once he becomes city administrator. But we are looking right now for a finance director.
I believe what can be lost, and so I'm going to still give Patrick a chance to speak here in a second, but I think what can be lost is the time that it takes to do those things. And Patrick, you know how much time you just did a heavy lift here over the last few months bringing in a budget, and we'll be heading down that road again in a few months. But how do you feel about all of this? Because I know it's a great opportunity, and all the hats you're wearing and everything that has to be juggled. Just what are your feelings about all of that?
Well, first off, I really appreciate the kind words that have been said. So with your question, Mitch, we have some really good candidates for a finance director position. We also put out there the budget and purchasing manager position. Have one application that's only been open one day. So I look forward to those two positions being filled and working with those folks through the process and getting them up to speed. Secondly, as council knows, we really have a good staff, and they will step up and help when needed. So I'm not worried on that side. So I think it's not going to be much of a change, quite honestly, and it's going to be more of a mentor role for me, especially in the finance area. So I think we'll move along pretty strong.
Do you see a separate CFO position, or do you see yourself just trying to continue to do that?
So great question. So here's the if game. So if I am renewed as city administrator in 26, 27, and I think then we look at, do we fill that position? What does that position look like? Is there a need for the CFO part of the assistant administrator? Don't know, but that's the possibility of that.
Okay. Well, it's a lot, and I appreciate your willingness to do that. I think all of us do. I've been with Chuck on some of these things where I've not agreed with some of the selections. I think that you do check the boxes that are important here. There's one thing that I'm always concerned about when somebody takes on more and more, and that's your health, your physical and your mental health. I think you've been doing okay now, but you just got another ton of stuff dumped on you here, and I know you can handle it all, but those things are all very important. I hope you take time for yourself as well as you get into this. I think it's a good thing. We want to move forward, and it sounds like we will have a plan in place to get some of these spots filled, because that is going to help you, even though you're mentoring. I'm hoping the candidates that we get, especially in finance director, actually understand finance directing, and so it's just a matter of learning our system, and then we can be up to speed pretty quickly. I think that would be very important, as well as all the other things, because I know you review a lot of things through the CFO side of it, and we've talked before, how long does it take you to review these invoices that have come through to make sure everything's okay? And you said, oh, it doesn't take that long because you're used to doing it. But the next guy or gal won't be used to doing it, and it'll all be worked out. I guess one quick question, and this is for you to decide with Carrie, but we know that Stacy actually played a role in some of that. Do you see her going back to help carry the load on this temporarily, or what do you see?
I think Ms. Nonhoff is prepared to help Mr. Brown however he may need or ask, and I think the new purchasing and budget manager you've authorized will also be there to fill that role as soon as they're there, but our office will be there to help him however he may need in the interim.
Excellent. Well, I think after our vote, we'll just have to figure out if we can find a hat big enough for you tonight. That's the only thing I see, the only challenge there, man. Okay, thank you.
Mr. O'Neill.
Well, I haven't been on council as long as a lot of you, but I've worked with Pat a lot over the last year, met with him several times, and he's shown me that he's a very good and capable public servant. I think it says a lot about his ability to do everything that he's doing right now, and I'm confident he has all the abilities, skills, and experience to be very successful, and I look forward to working with you as the next city administrator.
Mr. Stelp.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I too have a lot of respect for Pat. Sitting up here, I don't like to repeat what's been repeated already on the floor, so I don't want to waste your time. But I find Pat to be a top-notch person. I find him to be a team player. I find him to be wise and well-prepared. I find him to be smart and knowledgeable and easy to adapt. And finally, I think one of his best attributes is he's a good listener. And so I'm really looking forward to this vote and looking forward to working with you, Pat. Thank you.
Please vote. Motion adopted.
Congratulations, Patrick. Ordinances 9A, consideration of vacation of utility easement, Engelman Meadows. Is there a motion to suspend the statutory rules? Mr. O'Neill.
I move to suspend the rules.
Mr. Pollock.
I will second that.
Any discussion?
Please vote. Motion adopted.
9A, consideration of vacation of utility easement, Engelman Meadows. Mr. Schmitz.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is to vacate an old easement that was utilized for Engelman School, as that property is now being developed into a subdivision.
Larry Schmidt, did you want to speak on this item? I think that's the next one. Is it? Okay.
Mr. Brown.
I move we approve 10,037.
Mr. Conley.
I will second that motion.
Any discussion?
Please vote. Motion adopted.
Ordinance 9B, consideration of approving Water Chapter 35 revisions. Is there a motion to suspend the statutory rules? Mr. O'Neill.
I move to suspend the rules.
Mr. Pollock.
And I would second that.
Any discussion?
Please vote. Motion adopted.
9B, consideration of approving Water Chapter 35 revisions. Mr. Schmitz.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So 2 years ago, council approved the use of polyethylene pipe for 2-inch and smaller services, which has worked great in town. So we've had a 2-year run with that. So tonight before you is edits to Chapter 35 that will allow PVC C900 pipe, which would be 3 inches and over, as an alternate to ductile iron. C900 pipe is about 68% cheaper is what we're finding cost-wise. It would not be allowed in the groundwater control districts. That's per a state ask. We do have one of the larger PVC manufacturers in town, which is another great benefit. We have an expert back here in the corner. But I think it's good all around. We have the specifications developed and everything ready to go. So this is another step in a process that I feel Grand Island has lagged behind. All the fittings and gaskets are identical to ductile iron pipe.
Larry, did you want to speak on this one?
I was just here to answer questions if anyone had any.
Okay.
Mr. Pollock.
I would make a motion to approve 10,038.
Mr. O'Neill.
I second the motion.
Discussion, Mr. Nickerson.
Ryan, it seems like we had this discussion many, many years ago, and some folks were just dead set against it. And I never could understand back then why. And I think now we've got, things change, as we already talked about earlier tonight, things change. If I understand correctly, people that were stuck on iron pipe versus plastic or PVC or whatever it's called we're concerned about permeation of some kind of contamination that could come through the pipe or whatever, but I'm assuming scientific data has shown that that's not the case, or I'm just going to see what you found on that.
So, years ago, when these plumes popped up, DIPRA, which is the Ductile Iron Institute, was one of the first on the scenes with the state. So the state basically said, hey, they came to us, this is an authorized installation in a contamination area. And the argument has always been the leaching of petroleum through PVC. Now again, like I mentioned, the gaskets are the same as ductile iron, the fittings are the same as ductile iron, so that literally leaves the wall itself. And there's a lot of studies done that if you wanted to submerge that thing in a 100% gas-filled tank over the course of months, you may have some leaching. And Larry can probably speak better than I on some of this. But the fact is, in town, most of our contamination areas, the contamination itself is 50, 60 feet underground and in the parts per million. So not anywhere close to the contamination level that would even constitute the tests that have proven leaching. So we are one of a very few cities in Nebraska that do not allow C900 or HDPE under any circumstances. And it really dates back to DIPRA, the Ductile Iron Group, being the first on the scene with their feedback to the state. So I think things have evolved enough now. We know enough now. We have enough other people installing C900 out there that the risk has been negated. And Larry, I'd gladly let Larry talk. He's got a wealth of knowledge on the issue as well.
And these pipes would be used where? Where could they be used and for what purposes?
Tonight, we're just approving service line, fire service line. So to ease into this, a fire service line has a backflow on the other side. So if anybody had a fear of leaching, it can only go one direction, which is to the building. And that's why we install backflow. So except under an irregular situation, that water is going to go one direction. And so the next step would be, after utilizing it in this manner, we would develop specification and standards to go the next step, which would be the distribution system.
And you say this has been done other places. It's being done all over. So why the delay of us adopting it when we know that the history is showing that it's very usable? Why would it take us so long to get there?
Don't know. I would say my personal, this is my opinion, just an unfounded fear of the unknown, but it's not an unknown anymore, in my opinion. It's been around long enough that we just need to get on board.
So we can learn from others and feel safe about it.
And it's a cost savings, again, to development, so that gets passed on to the customers.
Very good. All right. Thank you, Ryan.
Please vote. Motion adopted.
9C, consideration of approving salary ordinance. Is there a motion to suspend the statutory rules? Mr. O'Neill.
I move to suspend the rules.
Mr. Sheard.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
Please vote. Motion adopted.
Consideration of approving salary ordinance. Mr. Schmidt.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. Easy one to end on tonight. So earlier in consent agenda, you approved the IBEW wastewater contract, and this ordinance just incorporates those changes. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. O'Neill.
I move we approve ordinance 10,039.
Mr. Brown.
I second that motion.
Discussion?
Please vote. Motion adopted.
We are adjourned.